Hey there, today we're going to be working on skill 5, graphing in the coordinate plane. This is our last skill in our pre-skills bootcamp and is kind of different from all the rest. All the other skills were really focused on kind of algebraic thinking, and this is really more towards the geometry side of what we're going to be doing in 8th grade math. But it's really important that we have the foundations of vocabulary for the coordinate plane and how we plot points in the coordinate plane so that we're not tripped up on those skills as we get into our 8th grade skills this year. So let's start with a brief review of the coordinate plane. For this video, it might be useful to have colors in order to highlight and color coordinate, kind of like I am doing as you follow along. So let's get started. I'm going to start by just breaking down the two parts or the two axes of the coordinate plane. So we have our x-axis, which is our horizontal. We have our x-axis, which is our horizontal axis. So that means it goes left to right. This is our x-axis. And we're going to go ahead and label the two sides in just a moment. But then our vertical axis is our y-axis. So again, we're going to label the two parts of that once we know what this point right here in the middle is called. So if you remember, this point here in the middle is called the origin. And it's called the origin because that is where we begin to plot all points from. And it has the coordinate 0, 0. So if you're sitting right here at this point, you're at the beginning of where we're going to be graphing from, and it has the coordinate 0, 0. So now I can think about our two parts of the coordinate plane. Let me get some different colors here. So when we are graphing, we always start with the x-axis. So that's where I'm going to start here. And all the points to the right of the origin on the x-axis are positive. So I call this the positive x-axis. And all the points to the left of the origin on the horizontal axis is the negative x-axis. Okay, similarly, we can break the y-axis up. All the points above the origin would be part of the positive y-axis, and all the points below the origin would be part of the negative y-axis. Okay, so those two axes together create our 4 quadrants. So this is not necessarily intuitive for most people, but we're going to go ahead and label them. This first quadrant where everything is positive, so you have the positive x-axis and the positive y-axis, is called quadrant 1. So thinking of the word quadrant, that prefix quad means 4. So there's 4 little kind of areas of the graph. This is quadrant 1. And it's where x and y are both positive. Sometimes we can abbreviate it as Q1. And we have a positive and a positive for our coordinates. Okay. Then we actually go counterclockwise to find quadrant 2. So this guy would be quadrant 2. So sometimes we can just abbreviate it Q2. And here, if I think about my x-axis, my x is negative, but my y's are positive. Okay. Then continuing counterclockwise, I meet quadrant 3 down here. Again, this is Q3. And if I think about my x's and my y's, so this quadrant is made up of my negative x values and my negative y values. So this guy would be negative, negative for our coordinates. All right, and then for our last quadrant, this is quadrant 4. Q4. And if I'm thinking about what it's made up of, well, I have positive x's and I have negative y's. So in this box, we're going to have points that are positive x's, negative y's. Okay, and I guess the one thing I should have started with first was maybe talking about all these little points inside the boxes. We can call them two different things. We might call them, let's see if I can highlight a little bit. So this point right here, this is known as a coordinate. You could also call it an ordered pair. And it's made up of an x and a y. And x always comes first, and then y always comes second. So a little note to ourselves, we can say, think alphabetical, I'm going to abbreviate ABC order, meaning which one comes first in the ABCs. X always comes before y. So when I'm graphing, my x will always come before my y. Okay, so that is the breakdown of the coordinate plane. We've got the origin where we start graphing, and we'll go into more detail in the next video about how we actually plot our points. But we always start from the origin. The x and the y axis, x is horizontal, y is vertical. So horizontal x, vertical y. And it makes up these four quadrants, these four areas of the graph that you're going to end up plotting. So for today's practice, the prompt is, where am I? And it says, examine the graph below, then use the table to the right of the graph to state where each point is located in the coordinate plane by placing a check in the appropriate box or boxes. So if we just do one quick one together, let's say we pick point J. So point J, if I look back at my notes, looks like it is located in quadrant 3. So I'm going to go over to J, find quadrant 3, and just put a check mark. So if you get stuck or you're not sure, refer back to your diagram up here. If you didn't get a chance to color code, go back and kind of color code it, because that'll be helpful for the next video as well. And then as always, ask questions if you're not understanding. Good luck.